Village fete seemed about as chaotic as that, but on the whole, more fun. There was a whole timetable for feeding. First the servants, then the villagers, then there was strawberries and cream for the village bigwigs, like the vicar and the JPs. Last, there was a proper afternoon tea for the family and our personal guests at Cufnell's. I rarely got time to eat at all. I used to run one of the stalls selling trinkets given by me and my sisters, and a few of the less expensive clothes that they and I had finished with. Very often they would be with me because they would come down to Cufnell's to share the fun. Good heavens, how the village women and the gypsies used to rush to find a bargain at our stall. Elbows would be out and umbrellas flying. I sometimes felt that one day blood would be spilled. Lyndhurst was a wonderful place then, with the ponies walking up and down the high street, and sometimes there were cows and even pigs and donkeys, all very picturesque. Quite a few real characters lived around the village. Brusher Mills was the most famous.
Catches vipers, I do. Cunning little barons they are too. I print them up and I send them to that zoo in London from Brockhurst Station. Mine doesn't seem worth it for the pittance they pays me, and they be capable of killing a man, and many an unwary man has been killed too. And there's these people, they all walk through the forest and they says to me, "We ain't seen none of your they vipers." And I says, "Well, there be hundreds of them all crawling around in the undergrowth." "Oh, Lord, there's one there, look. Don't move. The only strikes at those who move. Now you watch old Brusher here at work. I approaches slow, and then with my stick, I pin him down. And then I pick him up in the back of the head, and there he is, always a lively one. Get him now. Get him in the bag before it does any damage. Oh, you're safe. You're safe. I reckon, mister, that I saved ye from a nasty bite there. Would ye see yourself helping a poor man who has to make a living from such a dangerous trade?
Leave them alone, Brusher. We know it came out of your pocket. One had to admire his ingenuity, the way he earned his pennies from unsuspecting. I only wish the man had washed a little more often. He really did smell very strong. Oh dear, all this is tiring. I could do with a little rest and refreshment now. Perhaps you feel the same? I'll be back to tell you the rest of the story. Where was I then? Ah yes, I remember, around the turn of the century. On that first day of the 20th century, I remember the butler bringing the Times into breakfast. Every page was printed in gold ink to celebrate the power and importance of the British Empire. The 1900s were going to be Britain's golden age. All this time the boys were growing. Soon they came back from school with deep, broken voices, and it was possible to believe that they would soon become men. When Queen Victoria died in 1902, the two elder boys were grown up. Alan had received his commission and was in the army. Rex, Leopold as he was probably called, had left school and was helping Reggie with the estate and other Hargreaves business. Carol was only 15, but he towered over me. It was clear that he too would soon be a grown man. This was around the time when we got our new motor. It was a Rolls Royce, of course. Number 52, if I remember rightly. The coachman, Odell, was sent off to the chauffeur's course and eventually came back with this shining new machine. When we took it down to Lyndhurst, the villagers surrounded it in a huge circle of gazing amazement. Reggie learned to drive it very soon after, and the boys were always pestering him to let them drive it round the park. He didn't let any of them touch it for several years. Edwardian days. History has them as golden, sunny afternoons with cricket and croquet and tennis parties and laughing girls in big hats. The boys were starting to get interested in girls then. Alan had a short infatuation with a girl from somewhere around Christchurch or Lymington, I believe. But I didn't even have to talk to him before he realised she wasn't suitable. But there were happy times at Cuffnell's with parties and weekend visits galore, and Reggie and the boys loved it. But when I look back, it seems full of portents about the future. I remember Reggie tutting over the Times at breakfast as he read of the Kaiser building ironclads and soon having a set of battleships as large as the fleet of the British Empire. Kaiser Bill may be a nephew of the old Queen, but he was getting above himself, and we needed to teach him a lesson, Reggie used to say. A whiff of grape shot would do these Germans a power of good. I remember the Naval Review at Cowes. You could see the Isle of Wight from Cuffnell's, and we watched the smoke and fireworks from our windows. We went down to Lymington to see the ships, and I gazed at those great, huge ironclads bristling with guns, and wondered what they could be for except to fight one another. The two nations were army, just like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Remember the bit from the book?
Alice was just going to say good night and leave them when Tweedledum sprang out from under the umbrella and seized her by the wrist. "Do you see that?" he said in a voice choking with passion, and his eyes grew large and yellow all in a moment as he pointed with a trembling finger at a small white thing lying under a tree. "It's only a rattle," Alice said. "I knew it was," cried Tweedledum, beginning to stamp out wildly and tear his hair. "It's spoilt, of course." Alice laid her hand upon his arm and said in a soothing tone, "You needn't be so angry about an old rattle." "But it is cold," Tweedledum cried, and feeling greater than ever. "It's you, I tell you. I bought it yesterday. My nice new rattle." And his voice rose to a perfect scream. "Of course you agreed to have a battle," Tweedledum said in a calmer tone. "I suppose so," the other sulkily replied, as he crawled out of the umbrella. "Only she must help us dress up, you know." So the two brothers went off, hand in hand, into the wood, and returned in a minute with their arms full of things, such as bolsters, blankets, hearthrugs, tablecloths, dish covers, and coal scuttles. "I hope you're a good hand at pinning and tying things," Tweedledum remarked. "Every one of these things has got to go on somehow or other." Alice said afterwards that she had never seen such a fuss made about anything in all her life. The way those two fussed about, and the quantity of things they put on, and the trouble they gave her in tying strings and fastening buttons.
Of course, in the story, Tweedledum and Tweedledee were scared off by the shadow of a monstrous crow